The man, relying on his rank as a lieutenant colonel, tried to force his way into a restricted area without even knowing the passcode. Although the guard gave him a verbal warning in advance, the lieutenant colonel ignored it completely. With no other choice, the guard fired a warning shot to stop him. This startled the lieutenant colonel, and he immediately pointed at the guard and shouted angrily. At that moment, the special forces instructor rushed over. Following his instructions, the guard lowered his weapon. The instructor greeted the lieutenant colonel with a smile, but the officer still looked angry and offended. Soon, the sound of gunfire drew the attention of the other team members. When they saw it was the lieutenant colonel, they realized it was a misunderstanding. It turned out the military zone was in the middle of a combat readiness drill. The guard had been ordered to only allow entry with the correct passcode, but no matter how the instructor explained, the lieutenant colonel felt his authority had been challenged. So he started looking for faults, first accusing a few soldiers of walking unsteadily, then criticizing the layout of the sandbags and bunkers, saying the base looked more like an amusement park than a military camp. Finally, he called over 3 patrol guards to scold them, but to his surprise, one of the patrols spoke up and said their actions were justified. The lieutenant colonel didn't expect these soldiers to be so bold. In truth, he had come to the base to take over as the new commander. He had hoped to show off his authority, but instead, he got schooled by a group of new recruits. After changing into his uniform, he continued to complain, saying there were too many guard posts in the special forces unit. Then he gave an order to remove all guard posts and radar systems. But when the soldiers heard that, none of them moved, because this was the last line of defense for the base. Removing it would be like tearing down the front gate. To ease the tension, the former commander offered to dismantle the defenses himself, but the lieutenant colonel insisted it had to be done by the soldiers. Left with no choice, the soldiers carried out the order. Then other team members stepped up and asked whether they should also remove the watch stations and electronic surveillance systems. They wanted to see what would happen without any protection. That night, the enemy easily infiltrated the camp. The special forces were caught off guard, and by the time they realized it, it was too late. The entire team was wiped out, and the commander was taken captive. Fortunately, this was only an exercise. If it had been a real war, they would all be dead. So when the lieutenant colonel ordered everyone to dismiss, no one moved. But he still didn't realize his mistake. Instead, he went to the brigade commander to complain that the soldiers were disobedient. Thankfully, the brigade commander didn't believe him. Instead, he scolded the lieutenant colonel for lacking any sense of war readiness.